Hi, everyone. I don't expect anyone live. Um, Great if so. You'll have to probably watch this on the replay. I'll explain what happened. So, all day today, I thought it was Monday. Don't know why. And around 4 o'clock, I tried to call my insurance agent and found out, hi, Scooter Mom, found out it was Sunday and it was past the time I normally do Dianetics. Well, I just got done with Dusty's stream. Carrie Ann goes on in an hour and a half. So I'm just going to read a little bit now. I'm glad you're here, Scooter Mom. If anybody joins us, great. If not, this chapter looked too long to skip a whole week. So I'm just going to do it and then put it out there and we'll be caught up for next week. So change. Oh, so the reason I didn't get on, if anybody was there on Dusty's stream, why I was so late, because they did try to invite me. When we went on, I was actually putting together my new table so that my computer won't shake anymore while I'm on my chase. So I got it put together. So hopefully that at least is a plus. So this week is psychosomatic illness. And we know that he's going to tell us that he's going to, fix all of it. The problem with why I didn't want to skip a week, which I was fine with doing, or doing it a different, is this chapter is 44 pages long, it looks like. No, not 44. 24. It's long. Hi, Cricket. Yep, I got the new table today. I did have a hospital table in the shed, but our shed is big. It's not a small shed. It's 16 by 30 with a loft, and it's packed and it's hot. And my husband didn't want to go out there and do it. So I found one for $40 during Amazon Prime Day that fits nicely over the chase. It's perfect. I love it. It's great. So we're going to use that. So I'm going to go right into this. Thanks for you guys that are here. Like I said, I went on with no warning when I remembered it was Sunday. I don't know. My whole weekend has been weird. All right. So psychosomatic illness. Now we just read, if you remember, I like the demons and how the demon circuits takes over the aberree, is the best I can say that. So psychosomatic illnesses are those which have a mental origin but which are nevertheless organic. Okay? Despite the fact that there existed no precise scientific proof of this before Dianetics. Probably because nobody else worried about studying that. An opinion as to their existence has been strong since the days of Greece, and in recent times, various drug preparations have been concocted and sold which were supposed to overcome these sicknesses. Some success was experienced, sufficient to warrant a great deal of work on the part of researchers. Peptic ulcers, for instance, have yielded to persuasion and environmental change. A drug called ACTH has had astonishing but wildly unpredictable results. Allergies have been found to yield more or less to things which depress histamine in the body. Is he trying to talk like a doctor now? Is that what he's trying to say? Okay, before I get much further, I'm already thinking, if you remember, I try to look at this as, I'm going to say, the victims that saw this book, heard these things, and said, I need help. And this seems to be something that can help me. He was a know-it-all, for sure. He wasn't just a know-it-all. He made up it all. So we got to remember, now we know so much more about the human body that anybody that read this now would just be, he's a hack. Even somebody like me that doesn't have a college degree. So he said HCTH is a hormone that was sometimes used to combat symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. The stuff that they've come up with now for rheumatoid arthritis is so much far beyond whatever they were dealing with in the 50s when he wrote the book. And maybe he made changes. I don't think he did. So this book is from 91. Still in 91 compared to now, that's 33 years, have come so much farther in medicine that I don't think he would get away with this today. All right. The problem of psychosomatic illness is entirely embraced by Dianetics, and by Dianetic technique, such illness has been eradicated entirely in every case. Actually, today, I think he could be sued for malpractice, just from that statement alone. Because, no, it hasn't. About 70% of the physician's current roster of diseases fall into the category of psychosomatic illness. Really? He's saying 70% of a physician's current patients' problems are in their brain, in their mind. Oh, everybody's here. Hey, Pizza, Scooter Mom, Cricket. I didn't think anybody'd show me coming on with no notice. Think about what he's saying here, and think about when he said it. You know, if this book came out now, which it is, I mean, they're still trying to sell it. And there may be some people still buying it. Whether it's getting people in Scientology, I really don't think so. Because if anybody bought this book for $30 and took it home, probably pissed. All right. So he's saying 70% is psychosomatic illness. This is why Scientologists don't go to the doctor. Because LRH told them it's all in their head. Till they're stage 4 and they have no choice and then they're going to die. How many more can be so classified after Dianetics has been in practice for a few years is difficult to predict, but it is certain that more illnesses are psychosomatic than have been so classified to date. That all illnesses are psychosomatic is, of course, absurd. For there exists, after all, life forms called germs which have survived as their goals. Let me read that again. Life forms called germs which have survival as their goals. The work of Louis Pasteur formulated the germ theory of disease. With Dianetics is gained the non-germ theory of disease. Also, he's put himself up there with Louis Pasteur now. These two, with biochemistry, complement each other to form the whole field of pathology, so far as can be determined at this time, providing, of course, that the virus is included under the germ theory. Germs exist. Yes, thank you, Elron Ugg. I mean, but he's talking like the man's worn a lab coat and been a scientist before, or been in the medical field. I mean, you know what? I said this before, and I have to write things down. I forget things. I've got to find, I think, some book. I think there is a book, the Messiah, or I need to read more on his history. I don't know all of his history. So, all right, I need history. I want to know what his schooling was. I want to, because he was a lieutenant in the Navy. You have to have a degree to be. What degree does he have? I got to learn that stuff. So I know more of how much of a shyster he really is. My grandmother would call him a snake oil salesman. No joke. Yes, Kim, he's writing as he is a doctor researching. Yeah, we all know if somebody comes at you with something and they look like they know what they're talking about, you're going to take them somewhat seriously. Then you don't have the internet or any way really to research that person. I mean, how were you supposed to research somebody back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s without a computer? All right. I can only go for an hour wherever we are, not quite, a little over an hour, because Carrie Ann's got book club, and she said an hour and a half from a few minutes ago, and I don't want to go over that. Let's get into this some more. All right. Dianetics adds an additional leaf to the germ theory in that it includes predisposition. There are 3 stages of pathology. Predisposition, by which is meant the factors which prepare the body for sickness. I said that part. Precipitation, by which is meant the factors which cause the sickness to manifest itself, and perpetuation, by which is meant the factors which cause the sickness to continue. Yeah, Barefaced Messiah, that's what I was trying to think of. I know that book, but I do forget. Barefaced Messiah. Everyone says that's a really good book to read. I'm going to get that. All right. Maybe we'll do a second reading with that. Oh, I wasn't ready for this today. Usually I get myself ready. All right. There are 2 kinds of illness. The first could be called autogenic, which means that it originated within the organism and was self-generated, and exogenic, which means that the origin of the illness was exterior. Actually, although this is good medicine, it is not quite as precise as Dianetics could desire. Mental illness itself is actually exterior in origin, but medically, we consider that the body can generate its own sickness, autogenic, or that the sickness can come from an exterior source such as bacteria, exogenic. The Pasteur germ theory would be the theory of exogenetic. I think I've been saying that wrong. I think I've been saying exogenic, and it was exogenetic and autogenetic. I said those wrong. Sorry about that. The Pasteur germ theory would be the theory of exogenetic, exteriorly generated illness. Psychosomatic illness would be autogenetic, generated by the body itself. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. This is hurting my brain a little bit. Treatment for accidental injury. That was hubby making sure all the lights were right. Treatment for accidental injury, surgery for various things. Hold on. Honey? Tom? Leave that on. Thank you. I am looking at lights on Amazon instead of just using my ceiling fan light. It might look a little bit better. Let me start that over. Treatment for accidental injury, surgery for various things such as malformation inherent in the body on a genetic basis, and orthopedics, which actually can be classed under both, remain properly outside the field of Dianetics. Okay, so he's saying accidental injuries, surgery for malformations on a genetic basis in orthopedics Dianetics can't fix. But earlier in the book, he made it sound like he could fix everything. Yeah. Oh, me too. Okay. So he doesn't want to tackle that yet. Although it can be remarked in passing that almost all accidents are to be traced to dramatization of engrams, and that clears rarely have accidents. Oh, that's trippy. Hi, Susan. Okay, so he's saying a clear rarely has accidents. So they don't get injured because you're this powerful being now, I guess. Psycho, of course, refers to mind, and somatic refers to body. The term psychosomatic means the mind making the body ill, or illnesses which have been created physically within the body by derangement of the mind. Naturally, such diseases, when one has resolved the problem of human aberration, become uniformly susceptible to cure. Oh, hi guys. I didn't plan this ahead. So if you're just coming in, I forgot it was even Sunday till later. So, but this chapter's too long to totally skip it. So I figured anybody that couldn't come in right now can just watch it later on the replay. So I'm trying to get through this within an hour too. So, because there's somebody else coming on later. So he's saying that Dianetics can't fix physical based injuries and surgeries and genetic malformations, but I guess he's going to say he can fix everything else. But arthritis, dermatitis, allergies, asthma, some coronary difficulties, eye trouble, bursitis, ulcers, sinusitis, etc., form a very small section of the psychosomatic catalog. He's saying those are psychosomatic? Arthritis? Allergies? Asthma? Eyes? Yeah, he did say if you become clear, you don't need your glasses anymore. If you weren't here for that, I asked Nora about that on one of her live streams. And I said, how did you, when you became clear, how did you marry that up with having to wear glasses? And she said, because, we talked about clears probably lie to themselves. She literally went without her glasses for 4 years and couldn't see because she was told she's cured, she's a clear, she shouldn't need those glasses anymore. And so Tom Cruise saying he cured his dyslexia is bullcrap. He's just found a way around it. I'll bet my last dollar that he probably has somebody record it and he listens to it. That'd be the only way I could think around that. I know. So imagine reading this, going through this, going into Scientology, becoming clear, and you're still hurting from something that you're not supposed to have anymore. And you just got to deal with that. I mean, I know how much pain I'm in all the time with chronic pain, on medication, with treatment. I have an implant in my back. It's the only reason I'm able to sit up for more than an hour. Could you imagine having these things and being told, oh, that's all in your mind? My 5 injured discs, well, that might be, but I would think degenerative disc disease would be all in your mind. That would be in there with like arthritis. Or Miscavige with his asthma. Oh, he has asthma. Yeah. You know how he gets around that? He never goes outside. Oh, pup groomer. Thank you so much. Thank you. I like that. I'm sure it's something they have done. Oh, yeah. What did you do to bring it in? Cricket. He was called out some at a time. A Minneapolis paper published an article called What is Dianetics? Poor Man's Psychiatry or Crackery in 1951. Thank you. That was nice. I'm doing members only things because of all the membership gifting. That's been fun. Okay. So I'm surprising. There's, I don't believe for a minute that real medicine, even back then, is saying those things are psychosomatic. Only LRH is saying these are psychosomatic. Um, Bizarre aches and pains in various portions of the body are generally psychosomatic. Migraine headaches are psychosomatic, and with the others, are uniformly cured by Dianetic therapy. And the word cured is used in its fullest sense. There's no way anyone is reading this in today's modern era and thinking that this guy knows what he's talking about. Male doctors do have a history of telling women it's all in their heads. Yeah. Well, I talked about this on my members only, I think, but I didn't ever mention it. When I got my traumatic fibromyalgia, and that's when you get it overnight because of a serious shock to your system. I had a shock to my central nervous system. I didn't even know this for a few years because I couldn't move. The hospital admitted me as a psych patient because the ER doc who never met me, that came in and looked at me, spasming all over, said, I've never seen symptoms like this. It must be psych. And they didn't, for 8 days, they got their money and didn't do any tests, didn't do anything. And I told them every day I saw a new doctor, I told them what happened and the shock to my system. And after that, it was like my brain couldn't control my body. And it was the very last day, a neurologist, the second neurologist, came in. And he said, it's not that your body's not listening to your brain, it's that your brain is giving your body too many messages. He understood it, but they discharged me before we could do anything about it. So, yeah. Telling me that an all over spasm and I can't move is all in my head, and it wasn't. It took a year for me to get diagnosed. So it does happen. But still, that doesn't explain this guy. Oh, yeah. The etymology of the word hysteria. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, think about when this book was read. They did say that a lot back then because they didn't know, it took many, many more years and more, DNA, more research into DNA and things like that. So, like I said, I don't think anybody could read this today and really, that has, like me, just a high school diploma and a little bit of vocational school, and would think that this guy knows what he's talking about, because we know that things are medicine is so different now. It's so different. That was 50, 70 years ago that he originally wrote this. Just how many physical errors are psychosomatic depends upon how many conditions the body can generate out of the factors in the engrams. Oh, we forgot. Engrams is the problem. It causes it all. For example, the common cold has been found to be psychosomatic. When? When? If ever. Okay. For example, the common cold has been found to be psychosomatic. I read that. Clears do not get colds. Well, that alone is going to mess up any members of Scientology, because they can't even take over the counter meds for a cold because they're clear. They can't get sick. So what do you do if you're sick? You just freaking, your eyes are leaking, your nose is running. I mean, you have to hide it? And think about the way that the living conditions of the Sea Org members are so subpar, they're probably sick all the time. You can imagine. You can't even tell somebody, I need medicine. Just what, if any, part the virus plays in the common cold is not known. But it is known that when amgrams about colds are lifted, no further colds appear, which is a laboratory fact not so far contradicted by 270 cases. He is literally saying that he studied this in a laboratory, and that is a blatant lie. Supposedly studied 270 cases. That's what he's saying. I'm actually starting to get a little angry. The common cold comes about usually from an engram which suggests it, and which is confirmed by actual mucus present in another engram. A number of germ diseases are predisposed and perpetuated by engrams. Tuberculosis is one. So now that he's saying tuberculosis only comes about engram, not by being exposed to it. Yeah, where was this lab? That's another thing why I want to read his, did he even walk into a lab? Did he touch a lab? Did he look at a picture of a lab? I mean, is that why he thinks he's a doctor? He stayed in a Holiday Inn and now he's a doctor. The engram itself, as has been covered, follows a cycle of action. The body is predisposed to the conduct and conditions contained in the engram when that engram is first received. Then a conscious level experience keys in the engram, and other experience or the content of the engram itself may make it chronic. This is predisposition, precipitation, and perpetuation in the mental plane. So an engram can make it chronic. Yeah, Cricket, this isn't funny at all. Because now if you're clear, you're going to think that you can't get these things. And, back in the 50s, tuberculosis was more prevalent than now. So they're like, well, I'm clear. I can be around tuberculosis. I won't get it. Or do they get vaccines? Why would anybody in Scientology get a vaccine if they can't get these things? That's a question. I don't. Has anyone heard any of the survivors talk about vaccinations? I'm curious. Where are we? Chronic. Engrams and inherited disabilities and accidents and germs are the 4 ways an organism can be reduced physically from the optimum. Many conditions which have been called inherited disabilities are actually engramic. Engrams predispose people to accidents. Engrams can predispose and perpetuate bacterial infections. Wow. No, don't. I'm just having to think on that for a second. That he's really saying that. Well, yeah, they probably got away with that because it was something new. But for like TB or, these other things that, I mean, I guess he would have had to say it was mass hysteria if he, but they didn't. I mean, they doubled down. Oh, hang on, y'all. This is about to die. I always have this plugged in because I put it on the new table. I forgot to plug it in. This thing has no battery life whatsoever. There we go. Thank God it didn't just go off. Man, but still, that's a big statement. That's a really big statement. I mean, he's so misleading these people in a medical way. It's one thing to get them into your cult and take over their lives, but now you're controlling everything medically, trying to say you know something about medicine. Yeah, the one for COVID. Well, I don't think David Miscavige could, audit that one away. I don't think he had a choice. So instead, they tripled and quadrupled down on it. Maybe he told him it was a mass hysteria and stay away. That's why they stayed away from people. Okay, let's get in. Now he's saying engrams can predispose and perpetuate bacterial infections. Therefore, the catalog of ills affected by Dianetics is very long. This is not a book listing effects, but a book stating causes, and so the reader is asked to call upon his own knowledge or consult a medical text to understand just how many thousands and thousands of conditions result from engrams to disturb or derange the body. So, Diana, I went on with no warning. I didn't even expect anybody. I forgot it was Sunday until Dusty's show came on. I even called my State Farm agent, wondered why I had to leave a message on a Monday. So, anyway, he's saying that engrams cause all of our ills. We're into psychosomatic ills. This is just, in a lot of ways, it's just making me more angry that he's saying these outrageous things, and that in the last 70 years, no medical team has come out to say that this, I mean, in a big way, that this is hogwash. I mean, you might find a small blurb here and there where some doctor said this is crazy, but for the most part, it's ignored and let to permeate. I mean, this doesn't, sold over 90,000 copies in 26 languages, and we don't have medical doctors coming out on 60 Minutes and saying that this is something. At the present time, Dianetic research is scheduled to include cancer and diabetes. There are a number of reasons to suppose that these may be engramic in cause. We always wondered, right there it is. He's saying that it's caused by engrams. I wonder what, like, John Travolta thinks after his wife died. What, does he think that the Scientology just didn't work or she didn't believe enough? Oh, I'm still sore, Diana. Oh, but not as much. I do have a black and purple bruise. I just won't say where. Okay. So now he's fine. So now we know. Because they're like, we never tell Scientologists they can't go to doctors. Whatever. There are a number of reasons to suppose that these may be engramic in cause, the cancer and diabetes, particularly malignant cancer. This is remarked so that attention may be given to the possibility. No tests of any kind have been made on cancer or diabetic patients, and the thought is purely theory and is not to be taken as any kind of an avowal about a cancer cure. Well, at least he said that. Those diseases which were cataloged above, however, have been thoroughly tested and have uniformly yielded to Dianetic therapy. That's the asthma and the arthritis and other things. Engrams are like Aaron, it's always their fault. Yes. Yeah, what did you do to pull diabetes in? What did you do to pull cancer in? Yeah. I'd love to hear that if I got cancer. So you have to die guilty. The mechanism by which the mind is able to cause a physical disability or predispose the body to an illness and perpetuate sickness is, in its basic cause, a very simple thing. The complexity arrives when one begins to combine all the factors possible. Then a staggering list of potential illnesses can be written. A series of simple tests can be made on drugged or hypnotic patients, which will prove clinically in other laboratories this basic mechanism. A series of these tests were run in the formulation of Dianetics with uniform success. Again, I'd like to know where this Scientology lab is, or LRH lab. They weren't Scientologists yet. It was just Dianetics. And they did get all these vets from Vietnam to believe this crap worked. And they had those purification rundown centers where they would go take all that niacin and vitamins and sit in a sauna thinking that would get rid of Agent Orange. I think I have that right. I may have that wrong. I mean, I'm glad we're reading this because it's, survivors coming out don't really talk about every little part of what they've been through or what they've had to study, or if they've all studied the same things. Yeah, I planned on doing the same too, Cricket, going to my local library to see what the hell's in there, because if this is in there, I'm going to see what department it's in first. If it's in fiction, that's fine. They can have it in fiction. But it better not be in the medical. It better not be in the nonfiction. I can't sit in the sauna for 5 minutes. I have high blood pressure. A sauna could kill me. Yeah, and how many other members have high blood pressure? I don't know. I was watching somebody near Big Blue filming, or actually I don't know where that was. But they were coming out from a purification rundown and they were all red. Just beat red. These two ladies coming out. And I'm like, yeah, if you go to any sauna, and I've done the sauna a lot back when I was going to the gym, and you only do they're only allowed in there a certain period of time, not no hours upon hours. I can't believe they haven't had anybody die. They probably have. They just covered it up. Let us take first something which is only mildly psychosomatic and scarcely an illness at all. A patient is hypnotized. He is given the positive suggestion that he will be able to hear much more acutely. This is extended hearing, controlling out other means of his gaining data, including safeguards against telepathy between operator and subject. The hearing can be found to be amplifiable many times over. In fact, there exist all around Abaris who have extended hearing. By suggestion, the power of hearing can be tuned down or up so that a person is nearly deaf or can hear pins fall at a great distance. When the suggestion is removed, the subject's hearing returns to its previously normal state. I don't even know if that's true. Or if they're hypnotized and that's the suggestion, they fake it. They say they can hear things. Still. Similarly, experiments can be performed on the eyes using light sensitivity. The patient's sight is tuned up or down so that his eyes are much more or much less sensitive to light than is normal for him. This is done entirely on the word suggestion basis, such as the light will appear very, very bright to you, or the light will appear so dim it will be hard for you to see. Well, if you're suggested that, aren't you going to do it? I mean, he's saying it's real, but you're being suggested in a hypnotic state. Kind of answers itself there. The tactile sense can likewise be tuned up or down by verbal suggestion until touch becomes painfully acute or so dull it scarcely registers. So with the various senses. Let us now address the heart. By deep hypnosis or drugs, we take a patient into amnesia trance, a state of being wherein the I is not in control, but the operator is the I. And we talked about that. That's what he's doing to people in Scientology. They lose their sense of I and they're more controllable. A caution should be observed that a patient who has a very sound heart and no heart trouble history be chosen for this experiment. Wonder why. Which, even above any other hypnotic experiment, can make a patient very ill if he has a heart history. And none of these hypnotic tests should be performed until one has finished this book and knows how to get rid of the suggestions. So he's really pushing hypnosis in this book. I thought he was just talking about it, you know, as a way to be suggested, but he's talking like he's done it. Question: who is conducting this stuff on the members? That's my question. When was this done and to who? Like the Church of Scientology do this to themselves? Is it a job? I'm curious. I'll ask a survivor next time I'm on one of their channels, like a professional hypnotist. It sounds like he learned to become one, or he's using them, or he's making it up completely. Who knows? But it sounds like something that they've done. For hypnosis as practice is strictly live fused stuff, and the hypnotist who is unacquainted with Dianetics has no more idea how to get rid of a suggestion he has made than he has of how to peel an atom. Really? He has thought he had the answer, but Dianetics has treated many, many former hypnotic subjects who were thoroughly, as the engineers interested in Dianetics say, loused up. This is no criticism of hypnosis or hypnotists, who are often very able people, but is a comment that there is more to be known about it. Oh, okay, that wasn't me. That's my whole house shaking. Why? Sometimes, even though we live a good distance from the base because of the hills, when the tanks are firing on Fort Hood, it will shake my windows. So that may be what that was. I don't know. Okay. So now he's saying they're better than actual hypnotists. They can fix what the hypnotist messed up. The heart, by positive suggestion alone, can be speeded up, slowed down. Shouldn't that be sped up? Okay. I have the good table now and things are still shaking. It's not me. I don't know what's going on. All right. So I thought this guy could use big words. The heart, by positive suggestion alone, can be speeded up, slowed down, or otherwise excited. Here are words spoken into the deep strata of the mind which cause physical action. Further, blood flow can be inhibited in some area of the body by suggestion alone. Blood can be denied to a hand, for instance, so that if you were to cut a vein in that hand, it would bleed slightly, if at all. Hope they weren't doing that experiment. A fine Swami trick, which most amazed the author in India, was the inhibition of blood flow by the awake individual in himself. On command, a cut would bleed or not bleed. It looked fantastic and made very good press agentry that here was a Swami who had so associated himself with nirvana that he was in control of all material matters. Awe faded when the author learned that via hypnosis he could make his own body do the same thing, and so nirvana involved and no nirvana involved. Really? Did he go to India and have this and do this, or is he just making more stuff up? The mechanism fades out rapidly and in a few days would have to be renewed. The body has its own optimum operation, and although such a function can be analytically handled, it is not an upper echelon analytical job to keep the blood good in the hand. The point here is that blood flow can be interrupted by verbal suggestion. Words connect up with the physical being. Oh, geez. Just a few more minutes. So he's saying that he did these tests, that these were things that they studied. How this can come about can be shown by an analogic explanation, such as a schematic diagram, but we are not so much interested in structure as in function at this stage of the science of mind, because by knowing function alone, we can cure aberrations and psychosomatic ills every time, predict new ills and conditions, and generally work miracles as such actions were once called before man knew anything about the mind. I checked, no earthquake. I hope not in Texas. Thanks. I don't know. My house isn't on a slab. It's it's a wooden foundation, so I do get a little more shaking than a regular brick slab house. LRH, miracle worker. No joke. I was going to suggest he dreamt it. He's got some seriously vivid dreams. Seriously vivid. All right. Excreta are among the easiest things to regulate by suggestion. Oh, really? Constipation can be caused or cured by positive suggestion. And urine, and so can the endocrine system. It's harder to make tests on some of the more poorly understood functions of the endocrines. Glandular research has not progressed very far at this time. But by removing engrams and watching the endocrine system rebalance, it has been made obvious that the endocrine system is a part of the control mechanism with which the mind handles the body. All right. I'm going to go past some of these things he's. The deletion of the engrams from the reactive bank uniformly brought about a condition where they could receive benefit from the hormones that they injected. It was something he was talking about. I didn't read. But where such artificial administration was not necessary, save in cases of extreme age. The study of longevity in life. Oh, okay. He's saying longevity of life cannot at this time be estimated, but it can be predicted with confidence that the deletion of engrams from the reactive bank has a marked effect upon the extension of life. 100 years or so from now, this data will be available, but no clears have lived that long yet. Well, that was 70 years ago. And I don't know any Scientologist that has lived to be 100 yet, or that this is extending their lives. If not, has it not been shortening their lives? From the evidence that we've seen. Oh, cricket, they had an earthquake. Yeah, I was in Ohio in the 70s and we had an earthquake. And my mom said, oh, that must have been a jet sonic boom. And I said, nope, that was an earthquake. And I was right. It was like 1978 or something. Oh, Papa Smurf. Hello. We're not going to be on much longer. I didn't want to go over an hour. This is still hurting my head, though. That, I mean, you know what? I'm going to just skip some of this because really he's just going through all these ways that the body works and how. Let me look through it real quick. Talking about testosterone, the autonomic nervous system. This really, the specifics of this isn't that important. After what we've already read, that he's saying psychosomatic ills can be cured by being clear. Now he's talking about the mental tone. That must be the tone scale. Yeah, we don't need to hear this specific unless you want me to read it. He's just kind of going over some similar things that he's already said about different systems and how mentally you can control it. That's all he's doing. Um, he's going into electric shock treatment. Let's see what he has to say about that. Electric shock treatment, the beatings of bedlam and other things of their ilk, including surgical treatment of things psychosomatic in origin, have another effect, but one not dissimilar to drugs, and like HCTH, in that they give another shock which transfers the engram pattern to another part of the body and switches around the aberrations. When these things work, it is because the new aberration is less violent than the old one. Really? Shocks, blows, surgery, and maybe even things like cobra venom change the effect of the engram bank on the body. Not necessarily for worse, not necessarily for better. They just change them. Like shooting dice, sometime one gets a 7. So he's pretty much saying that any of these treatments that we might find benefit from is just an accident. Okay. Then there is the deletion of tissue treatment of psychosomatic ills. This doesn't sound good. I think he's just using big words to memorize the audience in a simplistic way. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he needs to sound like he knows what he's talking about. And, you know, he's obviously read a medical journal at some point. He knows how the endocrine system works. He knows how cells work. Of course, I probably learned a lot of that in high school science or biology. So I'm wondering where this is going to go. This deletion of tissue treatment. That sounds kind of scary. This simply removes the area which is busy dramatizing in the physical line. This can be the removal of a toe or the removal of a brain. Well, yeah, if you remove a brain, you ain't got no more problems. It's all gone. No more psychosomatic ills. No, nothing. Aren't you dead if you remove the brain? Yeah, deletion of tissue. Don't touch that LSD, but have some cobra venom if it works for you. I know, right? Let me bring this down a little bit. I'm still working with the new table, getting the where it needs to be. At least it's not on a box anymore. All right. I want to read this. The removal of a brain. These things are quite commonly used. Really? Really? Did they really remove toes to fix psychosomatic ills? Did they really remove brains? Now, they did do the lobotomy. Yeah, I think so. I hope that's all he's talking about. Because if you remove the whole brain, yeah, all your troubles are gone forever. All right, he's going to, I think that's what, let's see. These things are quite commonly used as this is being written. The removal of the toe is addressed to one part of the engram content, the somatic, and the removal of the parts of the brain, as in the transorbital leucotomy, an operation which, while the patient is being electrically shocked, thrusts an ordinary dime store ice pick into each eye and reaches up to rip the analyzer apart. Yeah, lobotomy. He just wants to give it a different name. Oh, and the prefrontal lobotomy. Okay, so I don't know what that transorbital leucotomy is, but prefrontal lobotomy. Okay. Or anything else more recent. It addressed mistakenly to the removal of the psychoaberration. There is a surrender system at work in this as well. The surgeon or the patient has an aberration about getting rid of it, and so bits of the body are cut up or removed. Some patients surrender anatomy on advice or at their own insistence, like old timers shed blood in a phlebotomy. There is a straight parallel between bleeding the patient to make him well and cutting away parts of him to make him well. Both are based on surrender engram, and neither are effective in any way. Barber Basin medicine, it is hoped, will eventually die out, as did its patients. So, yeah, this was written in the 50s, and some of this stuff was still being used, which is scary because now we're not. We're not doing this stuff anymore. So, almost all of this that we just read isn't even relevant to today. So much of this book is not relevant. All right. These are the 5 classes of psychosomatic ills. 1. Those ills resulting from mentally caused derangement in physical fluid flow, with class subdivides into inhibition of fluid flow, magnification of fluid flow. Those ills resulting from mentally caused derangement of physical growth, which class subdivides into A, inhibition of growth, B, magnification of growth, 3, those ills resulting from predisposition to disease, resulting from a chronic psychosomatic pain in an area, 4, those ills resulting from perpetuation of a disease on account of chronic pain in an area. 5, those ills caused by the verbal command content of the engrams. All right, I'm going to end here because we're getting into the classifications of psychosomatic ills, and I don't want to stop in between that. He goes in depth into up to class 5 there. So we'll start back again right there where he starts classifying the psychosomatic ills. But yeah, Rosemary Kennedy, I've heard about her. Nobody ever saw her, and she was institutionalized and given, I believe she was given a lobotomy. Yeah. So pretty much we learned that LRH thinks he's a medical doctor, and he's done experiments. He's had a lab somewhere where they drugged people and used hypnotism to prove his point, and it's all caused by engrams. It's pretty much what I got out of it. And at least he said cancer wasn't being cured with Dianetics just yet. We don't know that he didn't come out later and say it was. So, yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. I didn't want to go over an hour today. Sorry, I wasn't on time. I actually wasn't on time by the right day. I don't know why I thought it was Monday all day. That's what happens when your husband's weekend's midweek and he works at night. So you have no idea what time it is. All right. We'll start up there next Sunday at 3. I'll see y'all later. Have a good, not really rest of your Sunday. There's a little bit. Have a good week.